So, thank you very much. Honorable Member for Upper Salum.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and for giving me the floor to speak on the report from our committee and also the motion from the Minister for Justice. However, before I start, Honorable Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to salute the entire health workers in this country for the sacrifices they actually are making, because they are the frontline people and they have families behind, and they are catering for the needy Gambians in this country. I think what we need basically is to commend them, to give them a pat in the back, and specifically the Minister of Health, who has been so busy lately to ensure that everything is under control. And I want to stand here and to give them a salute to all the health officials in this country, including people from the ministry and the MRC, and also the other officials also who have been really very helpful to ensure that we bring everything under control. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister. But to continue, Honorable Speaker, I think we need to maybe differentiate certain things here. State of public emergency, whether it's 50 days, 100 days, 30 days, or 120 days, the most fundamental thing people need to understand is the regulations that goes with them. How does this regulation actually affect the population of this country? What needs to be done? We have very vulnerable people in this country. So really, for me, essentially, it's not about 30 days, it's not about 60, or it's not about 90 days, but the regulations that accompany them that affects the lives and the livelihood of the people of this country. I think those are the most fundamental things that we really have to look at. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the motion from the minister, he clearly indicated the rationale behind him asking for 90 days. He said a 90 days extension, if I may read, of the period of the state of public emergency will allow the government to do just that with proper planning and organization for the implementation of the immediate, medium, and long-term preventive and precautionary measures, not only to save lives, but to also balance the competing political, social, and economic interests expected in such times of national and global crisis. Honorable Speaker, there is no debate about the crisis that this country is undergoing at this point. There is no debate about the situation the entire world is actually going through as far as this pandemic is actually concerned. And that's the reason why the minister is coming here to ask for 90 days so that they can do proper planning. This is an emergency situation. It is not business as usual, we must understand. It is no longer business as usual. So in extraordinary circumstances, Honorable Speaker, I think there is a need for us to critically look at this request. I want to also thank the committee for the report they've actually given to us today. And if you look at the report that is presented to us, Honorable Speaker, they've actually made several recommendations, and I want to really thank them for taking the time to make certain recommendations to us. However, one of the recommendations basically is to, instead of agreeing with the 90 days, they recommend in 45 days. I wanted them to give me really what is the difference. Can I have something that would inform me that the 45 days you recommended is actually okay? I just want to have something. Because the minister came with reasons for the 90 days. But the committee, when I go through their report, actually I have not seen any conclusive evidence that tells me it should be from 90 to 45 or 7 days as some people are asking. Can we have something that would guide me? I really need to have something that would guide me to ensure that 45 days is okay, or 30 days is okay, or 10 days is okay, or 7 days as alluded earlier by the member for Latrikunda. I want to have something. Because if the minister came with 90 and he gave reasons why he needs that, if you're going to tell me, go for 45, I expect the same thing from you. Give me something that would guide me. I want to be guided, essentially. So, Honorable Speaker, to continue further, I think it's important to understand, if you have a public emergency without a regulation, essentially you don't have anything. The regulations pretty much is going to guide what the executive is going to do. It's going to guide what the other institution of government is actually going to do. So the regulations actually are the most important thing that we really have to consider, really knowing the conditions of this country. Again, we have over 30% of our population that is living below the international poverty line of $1.25 a day. More than 30% of our population actually depend on that. So essentially, it's not about people that receive monthly salaries, but it must be about people that depend on the markets on daily survival. The market women that goes to the market, the shopkeepers that open on daily basis, where their earnings depend on who comes in and who goes out on daily basis. Those are the people that we really need to consider, and they are really very vulnerable in society. It should not be about me getting my monthly salary. No, but the market women, when you pass by Serekunda market on daily basis, Larikunda, go to Olyundum, go to Farafenye, go to Basse. Even those in Panchang that actually goes to weekly lumos that's actually banned, they're actually affected. What do we do for them? These are the kind of things we really need to be discussing with the Minister of Finance, and besides also with the Minister of Interior. Because the coming in and out of this country, I think this is one of the most dangerous we have. Like my district actually, from the beginning of this district to the end of Upper Salum, we have borders with Senegal. We have 2 police posts, and none of them actually has a motorcycle. How do you expect those people to actually help to guard the border? Well, how are they going to do that? When you are talking about a stretch of over 50 kilometers. No motorcycle, no motor vehicle in that area. And you know our neighbor, you know what's actually happening in there. And again, at the borders, you know people come in and out. Like where I live, the next 300 meters is Senegal. Like my stepmom, my mom's sister actually lives 300 meters from where we are, or 400 meters. So really, it's difficult to say those people cannot come into the Gambia, but at least let's have some form of security to ensure that people that are going in and out, we know who they are, and the preventive measures that the ministry actually recommended. So I think it's very important that we have some answers to those things. Honorable Speaker, on this motion, I really wanted to have something from the Minister of Finance in terms of the financial impact, because he came here earlier and told us that probably they expect to lose around 1 billion if this thing goes beyond 3 months. I wanted to have an update, really, about the current situation, because the month has ended. We wanted to know exactly how did the Gambia Revenue Authority do for the last month? What kind of collections? How were they impacted? And also some of the things that they expect to come into the country. So really, I wanted to know the strategy that the Minister of Finance actually has in terms of the economic strategies, and also what do they have for the SMEs. You see, the SMEs are the sakers and bakers of this economy, and I've mentioned this several times. We also have the service industry, likely the tourism industry, which is part of it, and they control over 50% of the GDP of this country. Now, the tourism industry is, in fact, almost completely closed down. What are we going to do for those people? What strategies does the government actually have in terms of reviving or in terms of supporting those areas? I wanted to really know that so that I can make informed decisions. We are also told that the president has allocated almost 500 million to fight this pandemic. I really want to know exactly also where is this money come from? Where exactly is this money going to come from? And is it meant only for the Minister of Health, or is it meant just a national fight in terms of the Minister of Interior, in terms of Minister of Defense, and in terms of Minister of Health? I wanted to know so that I can make informed decision. We are also told about the World Bank, the grant they wanted, the African Development Bank, about the World Bank, the grant of 10 million. That has been approved. I really want to know exactly where are we targeting, what exactly are we going to use that for? And all this is going to help us to determine whether we need 30 or we need 60 or we need 100 days as a state of public emergency. But those questions are still unanswered. Perhaps during the course of the discussion, we'll want to know some more information about those areas. Honorable Speaker, to continue further along, I think is indeed one area that we really want to mention about this motion from the minister. You see, effective communication is actually key in emergency situations. But it looks like there's a lot of misunderstanding about the people that are on the street trying to enforce these regulations. Some of them, when you talk to them, what they tell you and what these regulations actually says is two different things. So there needs to be a very good, comprehensive communication strategy from the government, just to ensure that everybody that is actually given the mandate to enforce, you know exactly what you need to enforce. Without that, there's going to be a lot of pandemonium, and there will be a lot of unnecessary arrests or unnecessary disturbances around the country. And we don't need that at this point in time. So let's have a very clear strategy. the people that are enforcing the law, they must understand it to the letter. Because yesterday I have a lot of calls from around the Serekunda market area. Some of my people are there. They are away from the market more than 200 meters, and they were asked to shut down. They called me. I said, no, the regulation doesn't say that. So we went back and forth. In fact, I had to refer them. I said, go to the nearest police station and then make a report so that you can talk to them, so that you can understand. But the regulation doesn't say that. They are above 200 meters from the market itself. So essentially, we need to have a very clear understanding about those people that are enforcing the law and what the law says. People need to be sensitized about what actually it is, so that they can understand. The only thing I requested from them is to ensure that they have those cleaning materials in front of their shops and to ensure that they don't have more than 2 people at any particular time in their shops. And that's exactly where I can stop. The next they have to go. But I can understand that even those that are enforcing it, they really don't understand. So we need to have a very clear communication strategy to understand that we are all on the same page. Honorable Speaker, to conclude, I think there is a lot of misinformation that is going on social media, a lot of misinformation about this COVID-19 that we can help. You see, I'm part of a lot of WhatsApp groups, for example, in my area, but the recommendation I made to them is only listen to information from the Minister of Health, from the Medical Research Council, and from WHO. Outside that, please disregard any other information. Because if you see people sending a lot of information on social media, telling that this is good, no, this is bad, these are not coming from the health officials. We have the Minister of Health that we depend on. Let's listen to them. Let's transmit the information they're telling us. Let's see what MRC is telling us. Let's see what WHO is telling us. Let's ensure our people understand. Anything else, please, we could put it on the backbone. And I suggest to all our people here present today, any information that is inconsistent with what the ministry is telling us, or with what MRC tells us, or with what WHO tells us, I think these are things that we really need to discard. Let's not confuse the population. Let's give encouragement to them to understand we are in an extraordinary situation. And it's no longer business as usual, and we need to sacrifice. Everybody must sacrifice. Now, coming to the recommendation, Honorable Speaker, I had one observation that to the committee about the 45 days recommendation they made. I do understand from the schedule, from the table office, that we're going to be ending the session, sign and die by next week, Monday, if I'm correct. Now, what that means is, if we agree on the 45 days, and God forbid, and we are needed again, which means what we can summon is extraordinary ordinary session. Now, extraordinary session, there is a financial impact on that. We know, because it's going to cost the state over $1.2 million to have an extraordinary session. So for me, I was thinking, if they're going to make a recommendation about 45 days, have they considered also making a recommendation for us to forfeit that particular allowance that is paid during extraordinary ordinary sessions? I'm just asking whether they have actually thought about that, because I'm just asking them whether they have really think about that. Because if you look at the total, if you call in an extraordinary session, we know, 20,058, we know almost $1.2 million is that actually will be expense on that alone. And that could mean we can use that for somewhere else. So I want to see if they also can make that recommendation to the population in case, God forbid, I'm not praying for us to come back after 45 days or so, depending on whatever we agree with, but I'm just saying, in case that actually happens, can we also agree on one thing, that is to actually help to minimize the expenditure that we may incur during this kind of sessions. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you, and also want to thank again, once more time, the entire health workers of this country for the tremendous service they're doing to this